Hey, in this video we're going to talk about how we would convert from point slope form to slope intercept form. At the top of this picture I have the two equations that you would be given on any sort of assessment, but the one on the left is point slope and the one on the right is slope intercept. When I am going to convert, the first thing I need to do is to write the equation in either point, well, it's going to be in point slope form. We will either be giving you a point and a slope directly, but the harder version of this is if I will give you a table where we have to find the slope. Now, to find the slope, there's a couple of different ways we can do this, but what I want you to think of is how are my y's changing over how are my x's changing. We would divide those two values, and if it's a whole number, use that, or if it's not, use the fraction form. So as I look at my y values to go from 8 to 5 to 2 to -1, I am subtracting 3 every single time. So I'm going to write that down. And then as I look at the x's, if I don't immediately know how this change is happening, I would look at this change and make sure it's the same everywhere. To go from 1 to 3 is adding 2. Okay, now let's work backwards. To go from -1 to +1, that is also adding 2. Whoops. And if I owed you $3 and I gave you $2, now I only owe you $1. So this is +2. So my slope is going to be -3 over +2. All right, the next thing that I need to do is I need to find a point, right? It's point slope form, so I need to choose a point. It doesn't matter which one of these 4 rows in our table that we would use. I just need to choose one. I'm going to choose, let's go with this one. So I'm going to plug the slope and this point into that equation right there. All right, now the numbers or the things I wrote in black are always going to be there. I'm going to try to color code this with the colors I've been using. So the thing outside the parenthesis is my slope, and then the x, sorry, I just circled y. The y from the table on the point I chose, I'm going to put with the y in my equation. Now, whatever sign I see in the table, I'm going to flip it. So I see a +2, so I'm going to write -2. And then over here, okay, I have a +1, so I would write that with the x. So I have +1 over here, so I'm going to put -1. Okay, here is me writing the equation. However, this is only part of it. I now need to convert from point slope to slope intercept. And how I'm going to do that is I am going to distribute this 3/2, and then I'm going to move that 2 over to the other side of the equation. So as I do this, I'm going to have y minus 2 is equal to, and then I distribute, I would have -3/2 x plus 3/2. -3/2 times -1 is +3/2. I would then add 2 to both sides of the equation. And I'm going to have y is equal to -3/2 x. And that is, I think, 7/2. Let me make sure I write that right. And here's our equation in point slope form. As you're working through this, please let me know if you have any questions. The last thing I could do is ask you to graph this. I didn't include in this video. I would start here. I would estimate wherever 7/2 is. It's between 3 and 4. I put a dot in the middle. And then using my slope, I would go down 3 lines and write 2 and put my next dot. And I connect those 2 lines. Anyway, this is how we go from a table to point slope form, then to slope intercept form.